Hi, this is the screencast for Unit 2B, which is our Shakespeare unit. First, we'll look at the curriculum document. Along the left-hand side are those goals and standards that will be assessed summatively both through the final compare-contrast multimedia presentation for this unit, as well as the Shakespeare portion of the final exam. Transfer goals, these are those things that students should be able to transfer to other disciplines and assignments on their own after having completed this unit. They relate to understanding figurative language, analyzing the impact of word choice, being able to distinguish what is directly stated from what is implied, and then analyzing multiple interpretations of a text. The essential questions for this unit, again, focusing on those social constructs. How do our interactions with others differ because of the social constructs, and how do multiple interpretations of social constructs affect the interpretation of experiences, interactions, behaviors, texts, etc. So along the left-hand side are those understandings that students will come to as a result of having studied these essential questions. Acquisition, this is the skill acquisition that will take place during the course of this unit. Students will be skilled at compare and contrast analysis, presenting analysis with the use of multimedia, comprehending Shakespearean text, and then applying social constructs to a piece of extant literature. These are those things that students will need to know in order to be skilled at what I've just read. Stage 2 is the evidence stage. These are those formative and summative assessments that will take place during this unit. Formative assessments include studying vocabulary. There will be specific vocabulary items on the final exam that relate to Shakespeare, so it's certainly important for this unit. Various writing reflections and checks for comprehension that will take place throughout the unit, and then the summative assessment is the multimedia presentation, though there is an option for teachers to create their own summatives that relate to comprehension as long as they are tied into the standards that are being assessed in this unit already. Stage 3, this is the scope and sequence for this unit. It's approximately 4 to 5 weeks. The sequence that we are recommending is to begin by front-loading the play that you have chosen, as well as how to read Shakespearean text. The plays that are offered for this unit are Macbeth, Othello, and Hamlet. While reading your play, it is recommended, of course, that you analyze vocabulary, conduct routine writings, check for comprehension, and then practice those compare-contrast practice compare and contrast through writing, and then also film analysis in preparation for that final project. Taming of the Shrew is also an option for this unit. If you click on this link, it'll take you to the Unit 2B folder, which will include various resources for this unit, as well as the film clips for Macbeth, Othello, and Hamlet for that compare-contrast project. Moving on to the assignment sheet. It looks exactly the same as it did last year. So it starts with some guidance for students on compare and contrast, so how to write a thesis, how to organize a compare-contrast presentation, and then there's a template for them to use here if they would like, depending on if they are choosing the block or parallel structure or the point-by-point structure for compare-contrast. Okay, the assignment is broken down into the quick explanation of the assignment being, again, that it's a compare and contrast presentation, comparing the source text, a scene from the source text to 2 cinematic representations of the play. This particular assignment is written for Macbeth. We've combined the former rubric with this assignment sheet. So what you see here are the bullet points that were previously listed under purpose and genre on the former rubric. So this is guidance for students on what they need to do in order to be successful on this assignment. The audience, of course, is the teacher and the classmates, since it is an in-class presentation. Length is 3 to 5 minutes still. And then for media design, it does include the group speech, but groups can also use Prezi, or should also use Prezi, PowerPoint, Glogster, or some comparable tool as a visual aid. This is the first time that students will be assessed summatively on a multimedia presentation, though they will have had opportunities to practice their public speaking using multimedia formatively in previous units. They will need to have a thesis for this presentation. And then listed here are the standards that will be assessed summatively, specifically through this compare-contrast presentation. And this is the rubric. So you will see those same standards reflected in the rows of this rubric.